So once again, good morning to everyone. So we had started this concept of sensor and actuator studies. So yesterday we were discussing about the different memory selection for the embedded system, different types. So what is embedded system? What are its types of embedded system? What is the purpose of an embedded system? How a memory is organized in an embedded system. Now, main part of the embedded system is the input and the output. Okay, so how you are going to give input to the embedded system and how you are going to check the output in the embedded system. So, in general, this input and output devices have been identified or recognized as a sensor and actuators. Okay, sensors and actuators. So, we observe in our real time life different types of sensors. Right, we have proximity sensors, we have temperature sensors, we have humidity sensors, we have smoke sensors, right? So a number of sensors it will be present. So how it will function, what is the role, what is the power supply. So in general, we have to identify those things. So what is a sensor means what, how to define that one. So a sensor is a combination of the components or the devices which we can tell, so which will give information about the input, is it or not. So how for these inputs, obviously there should be some output, right? And how we are going to represent that output, whether in the form of text, right, whether in the form of led, whether in the form of lcds, whether in the form of buzzer, whether in the form of voice command, right? So there will be many actuators present. So sensors and actuators, we have known these things. Okay, we have discussed about the peripherals, right? So peripherals are nothing but your input and output devices like keypad, like relay, like DC motor, like stepper motor, like analog to digital converter, digital to analog converter, right? So many of the things which we find in our real time. One second. Sorry for the interference. So we will be discussing in detail about these sensor and actuators. So again, it is most type a short note types of a question you can expect in the examination, because he will be asking what do you mean by a sensor, what are the different types of sensors, right? How an input sensor, how the sensor will work, what is its function, what is its specification. So all these information we are going to discuss in this part of this module 3. Okay, so what is sensor and what is actuators? So an embedded system is in constant interaction with the real world, and the controlling or monitoring functions executed by an embedded system is achieved in accordance with the changes happening in the real world. So usually one it will be in on state, suddenly that on, if it is in the, if it is become an off state, so it is changing the state. So when it is changing the state, that is the input which we are going to identify. So when he has changed, on what parameter he has changed, right, how it has changed, so all these questions will arise. That is why he is saying that as a, the changes in system environment or variables are detected by the sensors connected to the input port of an embedded system, right? So sensor indicating what, usually if it is in a routine way, no issues, but there is a sudden change in this one, so we have to identify what it has happened, right? So that will be your input for your device, right? And when you have this input device, so whether you are able to control that one, whether you are not able to monitor that one, whether you are able to analyze something from that one, so these are the things which you need to refer. That is why we call that as a controlling purpose, right? So if an embedded system is designed for any controlling purpose, the system will produce some changes in the controlling variable to bring the control variable to the desired value. It is achieved through an actuators connected to the output port of the embedded system. So this is a definition which we can give for an sensor and actuator. So as I said, sensor is an input device, actuator is a output device. So sensor, on what condition it will work? So sudden changes with respect to the real time world, so it will notify us. And based on this notification, what is the controlling action which I can take? And if I have this controlling action on that particular sensor or device, so what is the output we are expected? So overall, this combination we call it as a sensor and actuators. Right. So a sensor is a transducer device that converts energy from one form to the another for any measurement or control purpose. Example: temperature sensor, magnetic Hall effect sensor, humidity sensor, etc. So temperature sensor, how it is going to change? So if I keep a temperature sensor at my room, right? So during daytime it will be normal room temperature, right? So as evening or during night times, the temperature drastically change. So if it was around 23 or 24 degree, so during night times it will become around 18 or 19 or 17 degree centigrade. So there is a sudden change. So with this sudden change, what I need to do? I need to have the output. So I need, if there is a air conditioner present in my home or in my room, what it happens? So it will check the room temperature and accordingly it will set the temperature of the AC. So if it is low, it will increase or it will off. If it is high, then it will increase, it reduces the temperature to whatever you have set. So that is the meaning what he is going to tell. So what is an actuator? An actuator is a form of transient device, mechanical or electrical, which converts signals to corresponding physical action. Right? Actuator acts on the output device. Example: stepper motor. Right? So actually your output should be on to an real time on the device, whether it should move, whether it should stop, whether it should blink, whether it should rotate. So there is all motion action, so or motion which you are going to observe as the output. Right? So we can observe that I have scheduled a session for exactly 11 o'clock. So exactly 5 minutes before, so 10:55 session which will be active. So I can join the session. And after this session, which is I am scheduled for 11:55 to end. So after that point, it will not record or it won't do any operation. So I have set the timings for that one. So when to start, when to stop. Right. So why it is required? Because I wanted to analyze, I wanted to control the things, right? That is why you have these options provided. Okay. Then we have this IO subsystem. So IO system, subsystem of an embedded system facilitates the interaction of the embedded system with the external world. The interaction happens through the sensors and actuators connected to the input and the output ports respectively of the embedded system. So it is not only that I am having a sensor, I am having a LCD, and if I keep both these two things, it will work. So you should have some other subsystem what is required. Okay, so that is why we have this IO subsystem. So when I give this input, what it should process, what is the command, how it should behave, how it should analyze, how it should react. So these are the things which will be present. So that is why they are saying that the sensor may not be directly interfaced to the input ports. Instead, they may be interfaced through signal conditioning and translating system like ADC and optocouplers. So your mobile phone, if I take, so voice is my information, but your voice will be converted into a digital signal, right? Whether you are doing that analog to digital converter, no, right? Who is doing that one? So the device or the system will do, and that we call it as a IO subsystem, which he will do in turn for my purpose. Okay, there will be optocouplers, there will be directional values, right? There will be different circuitry boards present. So one of the circuitry board which I can observe is this, which is the LED. So this is a LED interfacing. So you have a LED, we have a ground, we have a power supply, and there is a resistor which will control this LED. Now here I can have multiple type of a thing. So if I take a traffic signal, so if green, if it is there, you have allowed to move. If red it is there, you indicating you have to stop. And if it is yellow, it is there, so indicating that it is about to start. So you are giving certain instruction. So suddenly green, it will not come suddenly, because it is going to follow some pattern, right? So your LED will be, or the traffic signal will be same, but the color it will different. Maybe you might have observed, sir, there are three different signaling LEDs present over there. So one is dedicated to red, one is dedicated to green, one is dedicated to yellow. So you are going to set a timing for that one. So red it will be for 2 minutes, for green it will be for 2 minutes, and for yellow it will be around 20 seconds or something. So why it is required? Yellow indicating that, so you can start your engine, and your will be green will be uh, what we call it will be coming soon, so that you can move your vehicle. So if suddenly green comes, what happens? Again you need to start your engine. It is going to take some amount of time. So all this problem will be there. So during these kind of application, we can use this LED, which is nothing but your light emitting diode, is an important output device for visual indication in any embedded system. So usually what we do in any of the embedded system, we will try to give output to an LED, right? So for television, you take remote, you have given, so my input is given to this television, and you are going to observe whether it is on or off by knowing the LED glowing or not. If you observe that red LED it is in off condition, if turns to blue or if turns to green, indicating it is on, or it is ready to on, right? So it will blink, so that it will indicate that, oh, it will start. Because we should also know whether you are listening or not. Okay, so what we do, we'll randomly pick and we'll put a question, so and so person you respond, so that he will give a. So here also there should be an LED, right? So LED, again, what is the things which will be present? LED can be used as an indicator for the status of various signal or situation, like device on, like battery low, or charging of battery condition. So these are all applications where you are observing in your daily life. So if battery, if it is down, so it will continuously blink, indicating that, so there is no power supply, right? So if you take washing machine, so LED will tell to which stage it is on, or which stage it is in, right? So how much time it will take to complete. Okay, so those are all information which you can observe in this LED. In our daily life, maybe around 100 to 150 devices you will be observing, and out of those 100 to 150 devices, almost all the devices will be having a LED function. That is mandatory. Okay, you observe any kind of device, if embedded system is there, LED will be definitely present. Okay, you can note down anywhere, you can observe it, right? So light emitting diode is a p-n junction diode, and it contains an anode and a cathode, like positive and a negative value. Positive you will give to a power supply, negative you will connect to the ground. For proper functioning of an LED, the anode is connected to positive terminal of the supply, and the cathode negative terminal to the supply voltage. It's not supply voltage, it is a ground connection. So you can see here the ground connection which is present, or we call negative power supply. So that is why he is given it as a supply voltage. It's not wrong, but only imitation is thing. For purpose, for proper functioning of the LED, it's okay. The current flowing through the LED must be limited to a value below the maximum current that it can conduct. A resistor is used in series to limit the current through the LED. The ideal LED interfacing circuit is shown in the figure. So this is one simple example we can observe for the output, right? Output actuators, right? So it is content. LEDs can be interfaced to the port pin of the processor controller in two ways. In the first method, the anode is directly connected to the port pin, and the output port drives the LED. the port pin source current to the LED when the port pin is logic high. In the second method, the cathode of the LED is connected to the port pin and the anode of the supply voltage through the correct limiting resistor. The LED is turned on when the port is in logic low. So we have observed logic low condition, logic low active or logic high active. Just 1 second. We have active low signals and we have active high signal. So any one of the signal it can function. There is no issue in this part, right? So you might have observed that in logic design or digital system design, as a active low inputs. So 0 if I give it will be on, 1 if I will give it will be off, right? Active low or active high input indicating if 1 if I give it will be on, 0 if I give it will be off. So either way you can do, there is no nothing what you call logic or rocket science here presenting. Both for both condition it will function. One more output we will find is the 7 segment display. So this is a 7 segment display which we have. So it is in this clockwise direction A B C D E F G, right, and there is a dot E G H. So if I want to make it on, so I should know what is the condition. So if I wanted to make it 0, right, so what I have to do, G should be 0 and other values should be 1, like A B C D E F should be 1 and G value should be 0 if it is a active high. If it is an active low signal, then these are all should be 1 and this should be 0. Sorry, these are all should be 0 and this should be 1, right? So same thing, but here we have a multiple array of LEDs connected in this fashion. So the 7 segment LED display is an output device for displaying alphanumerical character. It contains 7 LED segments arranged in a special form used for displaying alphanumerical characters and 1 LED used for representing decimal point in decimal or number system. The LED segments are named A to G and the decimal point is named as DP. The LED segments A to G and DP should be lit accordingly to display numbers and characters. So again, as we said, it can be a active low or active high, right? So positive or a negative value. So positive, it is nothing but your anode connecting all the device to a power supply, or active low signal, it is connecting all your A to G and DP to the cathode value. So you can observe it is all connected ABCD to GDP to a anode, to a power supply. And here you observe all the values are connected to the ground, right? So these are the two types which you can find here. The 7 segment LED display available in two different configuration, common, namely common anode and common cathode. In a common anode configuration, the anodes of the 8 segments are connected commonly, whereas the common cathode configuration, the cathodes of 8 LED segments are connected commonly to ground and commonly to power supply. So figure illustrate the common anode and cathode configuration. Right. Based on the configuration of the 7 segment LED unit, the LED segment anode or cathode is connected to the port of the processor in the order of A segment to the least significant port pin and DP segment to the most significant port pin. So indicating how the order it will be. So order it will be from A value, which is the LSB pin. Okay, and it will be in this order. So always you have to write A, B, C, D and so on till DP. Right? It should be in this, and this DP will be, we will call it as a MSB pin. Least significant bit, most significant bit. Okay. The current flow through each of the LED segment should be limited to the maximum value supported by the LED display unit. So what it happens? So A LED, what is the current calculated maximum value? B, C, D. So overall, what is the power supply we are going to get? It is around 20 milliamps. Okay, maybe you have observed about with respect to the analog to digital converter. Okay, so analog to digital to analog converter, what we have done is that we have taken analog, sorry, digital values, digital to analog converter. So we have digital values and analog voltage, and this experiment we had done for 4 bits. So we were having 4 zeros to 4 ones, and the resolution of this one was 0.625. So 0, 0.625, right, and so on. So last value was around 10 point something, 10.765 something value it was present. So only you got a staircase in this fashion for all the values. Observe this one. Now total voltage was what? How much? 10.761. Now for this LED part, for displaying this 7 segment display, you are having around, what is the voltage defined for that one? It is around 20 milliamps, right? So that is a maximum. It cannot go more than that. If it goes more than that, what happens? The device will get damaged. That is the thing. Because if you go to more to the saturation point, it will destroy. So 7 segment LED display is used in a low cost embedded application like public telephone call monitoring, display, point of sale termination, terminals, and etc. So these are few examples which you can about think. Next is what? Optocoupler. Optocoupler is a solid state device. We call it as a SSD to isolate two parts of the circuit. So two devices will be there. One should be on and one should be off. We go for this optocoupler. Optocoupler combines a LED with a phototransistor in a single housing. So this is a structure of this optocoupler device. So you have a light emitting diode, you have a transistor, and these things we call it as a phototransistor, right? We call it as a photo LED sometime, right? Photodiode LED sometime, right? So you can give input for this LED also, or you can give input to this, or input or output to this transistor also, because either of the condition it should work. It is like a AND condition. A and sorry, A or sorry, not AND, or condition, A or B. So if A is no input, if B is a, so you perform the operation. That is a indicating which is telling. Sometimes you observe that voice command it will be there and the LED both will be there. Sometimes voice will not work, but LED it will on. Right? Sometimes LED it will not work, voice command it will be on. Maybe you can observe this in the toys. Okay, toys, what happens? Voice will be there as well as also LED will be there. But first thing which will be drained, your voice command will be drained. Why? Because it will consume more power. But what about LED? It will consume less power. So even if there is no music, but still you are able to observe the LED glowing. So you will come to know that it is functioning. And those type of application, we call it as a optocoupler. Okay, this is a example of circuit which is given. So in electronic circuits, an optocoupler is used for suppressing interference in data communication, circuit isolation, high voltage separation, simulation, simultaneous suppression, and signal identification, etc. Optocouplers can be used in either input circuit or in output circuit. Optocouplers is available as ICs from different semiconductor manufacturer. Example of that one is this which he has provided. Okay, this is one example of a optocoupler. So this is one more example. Figure illustrates the usage of optocoupler in input circuitry and output circuitry for an embedded system. So you can observe that with this acting as a photo transistor integrated for the input part, and this acting it as a output for this embedded system. And input part you are connecting, or output port you are connection, and these two things were given for a power supply, and this we have given to the ground. So both, once again. So this is how you can interface optocouplers as an input and as also as a output. So here LED can be as an input thing, and output can be from this transistor part. Right? Maybe you may be observed with a charging point and discharging point. So you have a input as a power supply given, and charging it will store the charge the mobile device. So that is one simple example which we can observe. So then is with respect to a relay. So relay is nothing but your controlled action of the motion of these devices which we can observe. So it is an electromechanical device. It acts as a dynamic path selector for signals and power. So it will give the direction for the different signaling process which is going to happen in the embedded system. Maybe for the input devices, maybe with respect to the output devices. So it will give path for those things. Okay, and it is dynamic in nature. So input here again, it will be acting as an input path relay. Right. So the relay unit contains a relay coil made up of insulated wire on a metal coil core and a metal armature with one or more contacts. So you can observe that there will be a transistor type of a thing, step up and step down. So where coil will be rotated n number of times for n. So the expression for will be that L by n and L by n1, L by n1 and L by n2. So you take cross information of that one. So you'll come to know how much voltage it is going to be generated. So how this relay works? It is based on the electromagnetic principle. When the voltage is applied to the relay coil, current flow through the coil, which in turn generates the magnetic field. The magnetic field attracts the armature core and moves to the contact points. The movement of contact point changes the power signal flow path. Right. So this is a relay path which you can observe. Single pole, single throw normally open. Single pole, single throw normally close. So you can observe here the open part, the closed part. Single pole, double throw. So it can be a open one and it can be a closed one. This also circuitry is used nowadays because they don't want separate relay for opening and closing. So they are using a common one for transmitting the a signal into the embedded system. So these are some example which is given for the relay, and one of the application for this relay along with the transistor for forwarding, and this is a load. So this circuitry you might have observed in your control system or other technology where you are calculating the current flowing in this part. Right. Then one more important is your piezo buzzer. So buzzer is what? It gives the audio information about what it is happening. Like if I go to an ATM, you insert a card. So still nothing is displaying or nothing is there. So it will give a voice command to you. So insert your card, insert your pin, right? Take out the cash from the whatever the machine, right? So your transaction is successful. So all this information it can be stored in the form of a buzzer. What is the use of this buzzer is that, sir, LED we are able to see. Why you want sound also, right? So you observe during night time, if you how much hard you bake, so other person who is in front of you, he will be not able to listen that voice commands, right? So only what is during night times, so they will do dip and dip, right? So by this indication you will come to know that some vehicle is moving. During daytime you do dip and dip, it is not possible. So during that time you are going to use the voice thing, like which is a buzzer. So many application will be there. So I will be sitting in this room, washing machine will be there in this some other room. So I will not be able to know every time for 10 minutes I cannot go and see whether it is over or not. So I'll give a buzzer. So it will give a beep sound. So indicating it has completed its task. That is the information which I will get. So you will be knowing that what is the use of a buzzer, right? And one more thing, what information you will get is that if the user is a blind person, okay, so he doesn't know whether it is LED is on or LED is off. So his way of communication is only through the voice. So he wants to only hear. So it is on, it is off. He is going to hear. So there are n number of real-time examples, applications, usage, multiple points where we can understand the hardware in a better way. So why we are doing all this thing is that it should be very easy of use to the user. That is what they are trying to do. Right? It should consume less power, it should be low cost, and it should perform very high output. That is what we are expecting. Right? So that is the thing. But obviously it is not possible. You want all the features, but you don't want to pay high money, so it is not going to possible. Right? But basic things it will provide. So basically LED these things he will provide. But extra thing you want, then you need to pay. Right? So those are the few examples which you can find. So piezo buzzer is a piezo electric device for generating auto indication in embedded application. A piezoelectric buzzer contains a piezoelectric diaphragm which produces audible sound in response to the voltage applied to it. Piezoelectric buzzers are available in two types. One is self-driven and one is external driven. The self-driven circuit contains all the necessary components to generate a sound at a predefined tone. It will generate a tone on applying the voltage. So you might observe the voice command. Siri is there, Alexa is there. So those are all with respect to the commands based thing, right? So you instruct them, they will perform it, right? By sitting here, Alexa, you make a call to so and so person. So it will check in the contact list and he will make a call. Alexa, you want to book uh, a table for the restaurant. So they will book on behalf of you because of those highly driven voice commands present, and which is a self-driven which will be present. External driving piezo buzzer supports the generation of different tones. The tones can be varied by applying a variable pulse trend to the piezoelectric buzzer. So high pitch, low pitch, PDM pitch. So that also you are able to select. Okay, my voice should be very loud. So for that you have different sound alarms. My voice should be very low. It should consume very less power. So for that type also we have different commands. Right. So a piezo buzzer can be directly interfaced to the port pin of the processor. Depending on the driving current requirement, the piezo buzzer can also be interfaced using a transistor based driver circuit as in the case of a relay. Then we have push button switch. Right. So push button switch, it is nothing but a switch input we are going to give to make on and off. Right. It is an input device. It comes in two configuration, push to make or push to break. Push to make configuration is switch is normally in the open state and it make a circuit contact when it is pushed or pressed. Push to break, it is an open circuit which you are going to make. The push button stays in the closed or open state as long as it is kept as a push button, because we will come to know by default state what should be the switch buttons. It should be in off. Off condition means it should be in open circuit. So when I make it on, so I am making it as a short circuit, then power supply, then it will function. So there is also two types of option provided to us. Always in on state or always in off state. So these two also are provided. Whichever is suitable for you, you need to select. For home applications or home appliances, all it will be of push push to break, right? So it is off condition, you need to make it as a on condition. So push button circuitry, it is of this one, switch configuration, port pin, VCC, resistor. See here, so there is a resistor here, so input is from the positive. Okay, now here it is a input is from the ground level. So this is an observation you should make. Positive supply, so it will conduct. Negative supply, this will conduct. That is the meaning which is telling. Low to high, high to low. Right. So all input and output devices we have observed till now, different types of input and output devices. Okay. Now next part is what? Communication interface. Okay. So communication interface is what? Between the devices there should be some bus built so that you can transmit your command, you can transmit your what you are going to transmit, commands or your data part. So communication interface is essentially for communicating with various subsystems of the embedded system and with the external world. For an embedded product, the communication interface can be viewed in two different perspectives. Onboard communication interface like device board level communication interfaces. Example serial interfaces like I2C, serial peripheral interface, universal asynchronous receiver transmitter, one wire, etc. and parallel bus interfaces. All these are we call it as a onboard communication. Right. What about external communication interfaces? So product level communication interface. Example your Wi-Fi, example like your infrared, example like your Bluetooth, example your like a radio frequency, GPRS, etc. This is wireless type. Wired type you have RS-232, RS-422, RS-485, USB, Ethernet 11th, IEEE 11th, 1384 ports, parallel port, CDO, PCM, or CIA. So there is a different types of communication which we can have, right? So wired communication or wireless communication, and both are categorized into the external communication interface, right? But serial peripheral, UART and all those things, it is for the onboard communication interface. So these are the two types of the communication interfaces present. One second. Sorry. So onboard communication interfaces. An embedded system is a combination of different types of component chips or devices arranged on the PCBs. Onboard communication interface refers to the different communication channel buses for interconnecting the various integrated ICs and other peripherals within the embedded system. Examples like serial interfaces like I2C, SPI, UART example. Right. So I square C is nothing but your inter-integrated circuit bus. The inter-integrated circuit bus I square C pronounced as I square C is a synchronous for bidirectional half duplex two wired serial interface bus. So we have half duplex, we have full duplex. So half duplex indicating, so I am a transmitter, you are a receiver. Full duplex bus, a common bus, you also can transmit, I also can transmit. Now this is a case tool where it is only half duplex. I am transmitting, you are listening. So if I request for response also, after 2-3 times you will be responding. Okay, so it is not a full duplex type, it is a half duplex type. The concept of I2 square bus was developed by Philips Semiconductor in the year 1980s. The original intention of I square was to provide an easy way of connection between a processor and a peripheral chip in the television sets. So serial block line, so clock line, serial data line. So SCL line, SGL line. So these are the two. That is why we call it as a I square C. Right? Serial clock and serial data responsible for generating synchronization clock pulse responsible for transmitting the serial data across the devices. Right. I2 bus is used as a shared bus system to which many number of devices can be connected. Devices connected to I2C bus can act as either as a master or slave. So I hope you will be knowing what is master and slave type of a communication. So slave type of a communication is not having any response given to the master. So master should come give a command and slave should follow. So why he have to follow, why he cannot oppose, those all things it is not there. So he is a person who is only intended to give commands, and he is a person who is only intended to receive the command. That is the only thing. No extra questions asked or nothing is asked from the slave side. Can act as a transmitter or a receiver. Regardless whether the master is acting as a transmitter or receiver, the synchronization clock signal is generated by the master device only. So to send commands to the processor and everything, so master is only responsible, right? So slave cannot communicate to the device. The following bus interface diagram illustrates the connection of a master and slave. So you can see there is a master 1 and multiple slaves, slave 1, slave 2, right? Device which has been connected. So you can have the clock pulse and the data value. So there are two things which have been connected, and these two things are connected to power supply, and this will be connected to the ground value. So whatever commands I have to do, I have to go with this master part, okay, and I need to use these buses to intimate which slave to be active and which slave should be not active or function or not function. So all this example is again given what should be the voltage value, the typical value of a resistor, how much it should be, because for conducting experiment you should be knowing to build this communication bus which are the thing. One more thing you require is the memory also here. So all the technical values like plus 5 volts, plus 3.3 volts for the transistor, resistor value 2.2 kilo, right? So all this information is provided here. So the sequence of operation for communicating in this slave device is listed below. So master device pulls the clock line of the bus to high, indicating that I wanted to transmit the information. So I will give a command that clock signal indicating that so master is ready to transmit the data. The master device pulls up the data line low and the SCL line is high. This is the start condition for data transfer. Yeah. So the device master sends a address 7-bit or 10-bit wide of the slave device to which it wants to communicate. So it will give a 7-bit or 10-bit wide length indicating for which slave he wants to communicate, whether slave 1 or whether slave 2. So what is the pulse you are going to do? The pulse should be on synchronizing with the slave device. The MSB of the data is always transmitted first. So which side is transmitted? I said the data I was transmitting was A to TP, right? So data storing is like this, but sending using I2 square, it is from MSB to the LSB part. So you are starting in this way. So these are all mandatory required because I wanted to know how it is transmitting. Sir, you cannot tell them, sir, I will transmit data from here. I will write program. No. When you are using I2C bus, your first data should be from the MSB part only. The data in the bus is valid during the high period of clock signal. So whenever you are transmitting, the clock will be high. So in the microcontroller waveform also, you might have observed. So what you might have observed there in the timing diagram, so you would have drawn like this. This is the clock. This is the read. So now at the output what? So where clock is what? You are going to read the information. Okay. When it is off, so you are not going to do any operation, it will be 0. So timing diagram you might have observed, no? Same thing here also, it will feature. That is why the timing diagram is very important. Again explaining this same thing when it is high, when it will be low and all other stuff. So I squares 2 bus supports 3 different data rates. One is standard mode, one is fast mode, and one is high speed mode. So you'll understand different data rate is going to transmit, because your communication bus is what? You are moving your data from one location to the other location. So at what rate you are moving, that should be always known to you. So this is the standard mode, fast mode, and the high speed mode present. So next we have this concept called as serial peripheral bus. So this serial peripheral bus we will continue in the next session. Okay. So I'll stop the recording.